Trump shows up to the UN meeting, absolutely captivates everybody's attention, and then he puts all of the other countries that are participating and that are allies on blast for being corrupt, for having globalist agendas, for mass migration, for ruining their own culture. Like, you name it, you think about it, Trump likely said it in the speech. And so we're going to take a look at it. Today's a massive news day, and we're going to start off with some really good news. Sort of. The fact that YouTube now has admitted that the Joe Biden administration pressured them to censor Americans and offers terminated channels an opportunity to rejoin the platform. This is huge. As a Canadian, even I was affected by this. I got censored during COVID for saying literally I didn't say nothing controversial, and yet I still got the hammer of YouTube. So that's a pretty cool opportunity. But we're going to start off with this clip here from Trump, who is very upset that his escalator and teleprompter stopped working, coincidentally.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
Oh my goodness. So he's not lying. In terms of the escalator clip, this is it right here.
President Trump, what happened with Chuck Schumer?
You're going to push Zelensky for peace, President Trump.
So he's trying to go up the escalator. You see it's working. The moment they get on, it stops.
President Trump.
And then they just walk up. Super weird. I mean, yeah, sure. First world problems, right? Oh, your escalator didn't work. But, that's the president of the United States. Like, that, whoever did that is going to be in quite a bit of trouble. But aside from the escalator and the teleprompter, it was really nice to see President Trump talk about the attack on Christianity that's taking place.
I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values, really, that we hold so dear together. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity.
And he's got a point. I mean, there's been hundreds of churches that have been burned down through arson, even in Canada. So there is a massive attack on Christianity. But Trump swings the hammer more specifically towards China and India for funding the war in Ukraine and Russia.
The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth.
Holy smokes, man. Trump is not messing around. This is going to have a massive effect on the global markets, and it's going to be great for North America, quite literally making America great again, ramping up oil and energy productions, and then selling that to Europe instead of their dependence on Russia.
The entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. For the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter.
Yeah, I mean, countries that start to go back to American independence are going to be heavily rewarded. Meanwhile, Canada is going the opposite direction. Canada is going against American independence and more on European Union and Europe dependence. But now Europe is being criticized by Trump and America, and they're being forced back to America. So it's just all weird. It's literally the fight of good versus evil, the West versus the East. And if you're not on Team America, you're going to be against America. And that is not going to end well for anybody. And what isn't ending well is talking about climate change, because Trump said this, which is massive to say this.
The entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed.
Yep. If you're not with Trump, you are against Trump. And I would not want to be on the receiving end of that. And to be honest, this was probably one of the most important speeches of all of 2025. So here's a really big chunk. I don't want to interrupt it, but let's have a look.
Problems it should. Too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years. of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25,000, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe, in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore.
So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Was Trump's appearance really good? Was it warranted? Did you agree or disagree with any of the talking points that he said? This is pretty incredible. He's quite literally making America great again, and he's making a really good point of it. This is a phenomenal time to be pro-Trump and pro-American. God bless America. This is really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing Europe get off of Russian dependence of oil and shift to potentially America. That'd be phenomenal. Hopefully Canada can get their head out of their ass and join the good cause, be on the winning side for once. That'd be really phenomenal, but we're going to have to wait and see how this does play out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another one. Bye for now.